There's an old Zen saying, to accept what is to end suffering. And that hit me in the gut with the real truth of what acceptance really is. And in today's episode, we're going to dive deep into that topic that so many people have requested. We're going to help you handle what's outside your control, how you can let it go. Hey, we're Brit and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. Acceptance is a huge topic that's buzzing around the Shine Tribe right now. When I asked what topics you want to hear us share on the Elevated Life podcast, acceptance. Accept what I can't control, accept what's changing, accept my life, accept who I am. All of those phrases around acceptance came up. So today we are diving in deep.
You know, it's funny when you think about why someone would need to learn acceptance. It's just something that we default to. We default to trying to control so many things in our life. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that if we think we can control something, then we can make things perfect. Then our flaws won't be pointed out. Then everything will go the way...
we can be safe.
Safe. It'll go the exact way we want it to go. And much of life will not go the way you want it to go. The good news is oftentimes it's much better. But it's much better only if you're looking for that and only if you're trying for that. It is not better if, no matter how it goes, if it's not your way, then it's just not it. Because I'll tell you that I hardly ever get exactly my way.
My way or the highway?
People want to believe that, but sometimes like the highway is not too shabby. Sometimes you need to get on the highway, you know?
Or a semi-truck might smack you right in the face.
It's true.
And that's what life is like a fucking semi-truck just barreling through your life. And acceptance, I really didn't understand what that was until my mom had that massive stroke. And the only thing I could do was accept it. I've tried to fight it. Why is this happening? Why to her? I don't understand, when we're in this like blame, victimhood mentality. But acceptance is, to me, when you have the liberation of, well, what good can come out of this? And it wasn't until I finally accepted this has happened. Holy shit. My mom might not wake up tomorrow. That it gave me the next step or a next footing to stand on to be like, what's the positive solution here? But before I could get there was, I think our first takeaway in today's topic is to grieve. I had to grieve. I had to be mad. I had to be sad. I had to be all the fucking ranges and rages of emotion so that I could get it out of my system. It's like we can't heal until we feel. Like it's true.
Yeah, and watching you go through that, it was so intense because it is that moment that you realize that, everything in your life is going to eventually go away. And there is, it's disheartening sounding, but the acceptance of it really kind of frees you. And I think it's acceptance of a lot of things that starts to free you. And once you admit it, you can move on, which is weird because you think that well, if I don't accept it, then I can change it. And that's not how it actually works. It's that once you accept it, you can actually begin to change you. Because if you can't change the situation, the only choice you get to have, an opportunity that you have, is to get to change yourself. And you do that by what you focus on. When we're really talking about what acceptance is, it's how are we focusing our thoughts? What is it really that we are thinking about? And so when you start to open up to new possibilities, once you say, well, life's been this way, so this is happening right now to me. Now, what are my opportunities to make something good of this? Or what's my opportunity to do something better next time? Or what am I really getting out of all of this? But it's so important to feel those emotions first, because before we allow our bodies to process it, that's what the emotions are. It's our body processing what's going on with us. If we tuck that away, we won't be able to change it. It just stays with us. We still stay in that same state. But the moment that you allow yourself to really go through it, I mean, we've been to some sad spots in our lives, you know, and been around people that were in some sad spots, and watching them cry and get it out finally. Like, a lot of people hold tears for a long time. I'm so tough, and look at me, and this is not really happening, but sometimes it does. And it's okay that it does sometimes. You know, that's going to happen. And watching people be able to sort of, like, I won't say break down, because that's not what they were doing. To me, it shows a lot of strength to be able to just let your emotions let go for a moment, to just be out there. It takes a lot of strength and courage, especially to do it in front of other people. And I think that them being able to do that allowed them to move past the moment, allowed them to actually get to that space where they're like, I can heal from this. Hell, I just was tacked with all these emotions that I didn't want to feel because they were uncomfortable. But now that I felt them, they're not that bad, and it didn't last that long.
But it can last a lifetime if you hold on to the feeling and refuse to feel it.
It stays there. It just stays, and it's almost poisonous because it bleeds into everything else. Mm-hmm. It is a poison.
It is. So grieve, feel it. Feel it to heal it. It's like silly and rhymey, but it's true. And so whatever emotions come up around when a situation outside your control, I mean, anger is there for a reason. When anger shows you that something's unfair. And usually when things are changing outside of your control, your first emotion is, oh my God, I'm angry. This isn't fair. I don't like this. Mayday, mayday, trauma response. And that's so important for you to recognize, okay, I feel angry because something is unfair. Something is outside my control. And then I really feel like acceptance comes when you start to say, okay, I see that this has happened. So what good can come from this? What can I do? Where can you talk about where the focus is, right? That's where acceptance is. Well, we shift our focus from pain, oh my God, WTF, I don't like this, I didn't choose this, why is this happening? And then we shift that focus over to, okay, well, what is this here to teach me? What can I learn from this? And, you know, where do I go from here? What's the next step?
And, you know, that's the second thing, is to search for that, to deeply search for that lesson. Because sometimes it's not obvious, and it's okay to be patient with the lesson sometimes. A lot of times we look for it right when we're going through something, and we don't have the perspective yet. We're not that older, more mature version of ourselves yet that's gone through the pain. So we can't always immediately find it. It's not obvious why you get fired from a job. It's not obvious why people break up. Sometimes it's not. And you're like, well, and you get in that mode of like, well, why is this happening to me? I'm doing these good things. I'm trying this out. And a lot of times you have to realize that we are just going through a series of lessons. It's just lesson and then lesson and a lesson. And all you get when you pass the first lesson is the next lesson. And it just keeps happening again and again.
Not $200.
Yeah, so
I get to skip going past jail.
Oh my God! So it's not like you get to the third level and you do some challenging things, and the rest of the challenging things are over.
And then you could put a hotel on the boardwalk.
See, that only happens when you die. The challenging things stop happening, at least for this lifetime experience, only when you die. So it's going to be challenge. So that you have to start from the beginning to figure out what are those coping mechanisms that you need, so that you can move through this process more quickly. You know, and to give yourself the space and whatever time it takes for you to actually do that, and be honest with yourself about it. What a lot of people do is because they hear like fake it till you make it, and so they try to apply that to every little bitty thing in your life. That's about like being confident and stuff. Like fake it till you make it is like having the confidence and perseverance inside yourself to like do something. What we're really talking about here is not fake it till you make it. It's to feel it. It's to let yourself purge those feelings so that you can say, oh, well, I've gone through a lot of tough stuff before. I can get through this. This is not that big of a deal. And that's what you normally end up realizing.
It's hard to focus on the positive lesson when you're too busy drowning in the feelings of, you know, crazy emotion. So it's really important that you purge the emotion, like Chris said, so that you can create space for clarity. Yeah. Ooh, that was good. Somebody quote that. Anna, quote that.
Yeah, space for clarity.
Oh my gosh. So number 3, this is our third tip. And this one's, you know, a lot easier said than done, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think that it's only easier if you're unwilling to feel the pain. I think that once you feel it, and once you get in terms with yourself of like, oh, that stung. That was tough. Okay, it's tough. I remember when your dad passed away, or when we went through your grandmother going through her stuff. It was the same. Like you had to fully. There was a moment where you felt it all. I remember that. I remember both those nights where it came and it hit you, and it was that semi truck on the highway, and it hit hard. But then it didn't hit hard like that again. But you had to there was a moment where we all kind of fall apart, and to let yourself have that moment, to be okay with that, and to realize that a lot of times things are blessings, and we can't see them right then, and that a lot of the problems that we have, all the things that we're so unwilling to accept, are exactly the kind of lessons that we need, the kind of moments that we have to grow through, the kind of things that not only will we learn from, but they'll be the biggest pivotal moments in our entire lives. Sometimes in my life when I've been turned down or rejected or I've been told no or whatever it is that ended up, sometimes those were the absolute best things that ever happened to me, and I'm so glad I didn't sit and dwell on them forever, because I would have just stayed there and stay in like a moment of sorrow. And it's like, life's not about that. It's about celebrating, being in like moving on. And it's like going after and grabbing the next beautiful thing for yourself. And you don't stay in the bad feelings. If you've been living with the bad feelings for a long time, start to let those go. Start to drop it. And that's the third thing, is to drop it. Is to start making new visions in your mind about who you are and what your life is, which means what you focus on. Start to focus on the things that you can change. You can always work on yourself. We can't change a lot of situations. There's a lot of things that come in our life that we can't do anything about, but we can always change what we focus on. We can always change how we talk to ourselves. We can always change what our boundaries are, who we let into our life. We can figure out what a job that motivates us or that keeps us excited or that we feel passionate about. We can do all of those things. We can have conversations that are open with our partners. We can do that. And in that way, what ends up happening is not that you've necessarily accepted it, you just moved on. Like, what's the point in staying there? It's like sitting at the red light once it turns green. Hey, it's green now. Hey, no, I'm just going to stay here for no.
I'm still mad because it was red.
Yeah, like it's time to go on. It's time to just pack your stuff up and put it on your back and move on. Because there are greener pastures. There are places that want you, that accept you, that want to be in your presence and in your energy. And once you start figuring it out, now you can move in from that space where you start to say, the world likes me. Ooh, people like me. People enjoy me. I love being around people. I help people. People get nourished from my presence. And when you start to feel that inside yourself, it's just much easier to accept the other crap. Because you're just moving on to one positive experience after another.
The better it gets, the better it gets.
That is something that we put on repeat in this household. We always talk about what are your mantras, what are the affirmations that you say. One thing that gets repeated in our house all the time is the better it gets, the better it gets. And anytime anything happens, it's cool. Let's say you get that front row spot, or they have that, you only have one of that cookies you wanted to make on the grocery store. They only had one left, and you got that one, and that was your gift for that day. We're looking at each other and saying, hey, the better it gets, the better it gets. It can be something small, but just remind yourself.
Like when all those pickles were on clearance at Kroger.
Oh, dude. Bubby's Pickles. If you're a pickle fan, pick yourself up Bubby's Pickles. We are not sponsored, but we should be.
That should be our next business. We're not sponsored, but we should be.
I love it.
Hashtag trademark. I love it. We're just coming up with the good ideas here on the podcast. You know what else acceptance really makes me think about? Like when I was seeing that over and over, accept with ourselves, accept, okay, of course we can get plastic surgery, but that's not really going to change the issue you have emotionally or internally, our belief system. But beyond all of that kind of acceptance, I was really trying to dig into my soul. What else can we talk about to really drive this topic home? And for me, I think it's trust. I think acceptance is trust that everything is happening for your highest good, even if you can't understand in the moment. Go. What?
I feel like we oh my goodness, we bring this up. This is a conversation that we end up having a lot, and it's two ways you can do it. It's always these two ways. It's not different. You always have these two options. Which what you're talking about is modifying how you're feeling, right? Modifying how you're feeling. And the other way to do it is to just not care. You always have two options. You're either going to modify how you feel, modify what you think about, do some sort of personal development, some self-help kind of stuff.
Join the Elevated Life Club. Yeah,
or you're just going to just no longer care. Not that it doesn't matter. It's just you don't give 100% of all of your energy to. You can only give out so much energy per day. You can only give so much time out per day. And so if you're continuously focused on things that you can't change, things that don't matter, where do you think your time is? It's gone. Because no matter what you could have done, nothing would have happened. So you have to decide, am I going to change how I feel about it, or change how I feel about myself, or what I'm doing with my life, or am I going to just not care anymore? You always have those two options. Doesn't mean you don't improve. By not caring doesn't mean you're just like, oh, it's not like a grumpy attitude. It's like I'm not going to give that my energy attitude. Those are two different things. Like the grumpy one won't work for you, and people won't want to be around you. It's going to be a bad time. But if you have the attitude of like, oh, that's fine. Like if the waiter brings out the wrong meal, and you say, hey, I didn't order this. I don't know what this is. What you got going on over here? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay, we're just going to wait for the next meal. It's not a big deal. You're just going to let it go. It's just going to pass on by, and everything's going to be okay. You have to let more things just pass on by, because they're not important. I can't change it. I can't be mad enough. Doesn't matter.
You taught me something really valuable. You said, if it won't matter in 5 years, don't waste more than 5 minutes on it. And that helped me to like stop overthinking and overanalyzing like the little shit, because there's always going to be the semi trucks that come through where if you've squandered all your energy on all these like little annoying things, then you're not going to have the reserves to be able to show up and practice and put into faith like this acceptance and being able to move through chaotic times in your life in a peaceful and serene place. And it is possible. I mean, equanimity is possible. Like that's what the yogis and the monks and all the things are practicing. That's what this whole freaking message is about, is like knowing that you can be peaceful and calm throughout all the chaos in your life.
And if you do have that faith that you talked about originally, about the faith about just knowing things are happening for a reason for you, knowing that things have occurred for you in your life so that you can learn from them. If you adopt that perspective, there's not really anything extra to accept. Because you know that you're in the perfect body for you. You know that you're in the perfect place for you. You have the right kids. You've had the right people in your life. Those relationships that were trash, they were trash for a reason. They showed you maybe what not to accept. The job that you ended up absolutely hating, the decisions that you made that, tanked your bank account, like all those things happened because of something, right? And they should all be teaching you lessons. And if not, you're not looking for what you need to know. And so if you go with that kind of attitude, like, I'm learning from all this stuff. I'm learning from all this stuff. Are you having an epiphany?
Yeah, if you're not learning the lesson, you're stuck in the cycle.
Yes!
Damn! Like,
yes.
Ugh, crazy. My question, was it Einstein that said you either live life as though everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle?
Maybe it's Einstein.
I really feel like it is. We need a fact checker on our podcast, so like, let us know. But I really feel whoever the hell said it is freaking wise. And I used to live by the latter. I didn't think everything was a miracle. I thought everything was just crap. And now, going through the crap, I've come to this new place of acceptance and trust that everything is happening to teach me some level of growth to come back to that place of peace and love.
Yeah, and you know what all this has to do with really is surrendering. Like, we're talking about things that we can or can't control. And the reality is that the only thing you can do when you're in the river really is like ride where the river's going. That water is going to go into that space, and you need to just move with it. And I feel so many of us always are fighting so hard up the river. I mean, I know I've done it so many times in my life. I look back, I'm like, I spent so much energy on stuff that I couldn't have changed. Like, what was I doing?
You wasted more than 5 minutes?
I wasted more than 5 minutes. And I feel like that lesson right there, that tidbit of the 5 minutes is good, because it does allow you to grieve. Because if you stub your toe, like, you should yell about it. I mean, it's going to hurt. And so things that we go through, even if it's emotional stuff, it's sometimes just going to hurt. So maybe you yell about it for a minute. Maybe you're mad. This is the space that I try to give Brit, when things happen to her. I don't take it personal. She gets her 5 minutes. It's not about me. It's about whatever she's going through.
And I throw a really good pity party.
You do. But you know what? The second that's over, it's over. Mm-hmm. There's no more about it. We're not talking about it tomorrow. We're not talking about it 6 months from the same nonsense. Because you're like, life is so much about more cool stuff than that. There's so many cool things out there to be experiencing or to be figuring out about yourself. I mean, the world is in a massive place for you to be able to explore. I mean, there's so much going on at every given moment. To not be excited and not be thrilled about it is insanity. I mean, it's just too much greatness. We are so immersed in greatness we forget. I mean, we just do. It's such a fantastic place to be. So begin to look at your life. Look at those places that if you can change it, hey, work on that. And there are some things that you can't change right in this moment, but if you got prepared for them, then you could change them. You could change them soon. And so maybe you need a little bit of patience. And the things that you can't change, you're going to have to accept. There are no other choices. So make more of a quick spot about that. Like don't waste time trying to just get to the next thing. Focus on that for a brief period of time. Feel the feelings and then let it all go. Just drop it. Just realize you've got more important things to do. Your life is about more cool things. Have that attitude. This is about cool stuff for me. My life is too much about cool stuff for me to be focused on that nonsense. And try that on. Try it on for like a week and just see how many of your problems seem to go away. And how much more energy you have. You can focus on the things that would build you up. Go out there and get your support team.
If you can't change your problems, change your attitude.
Booyah.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.